Can you guys hear me now? I'm not muted. I'm literally not muted. Okay. All right. Let's see. Hello? Can you guys hear me at all? Can you guys hear me at all? Can you guys hear me? Literally, I'm not even joking. Like the button that says mute was not muted. So it was something with StreamYard. So for the person that called me an idiot, I'm kicking you out. You don't have to call names. Sometimes technology does not work. So yeah. Anyways, now that you guys can hear me, I still want to switch to my mic though. Give me a second. Because maybe it was just like a lag or something. Hello, hello. There it is. Exactly. So I was not muted. Um, something was going on with StreamYard for the second. So now I have something pinned. Um, yeah, no, I'm kicking you out because you don't need to call me names. All right. So I have a little comment pinned. So, like I told you guys before, there will be a watch along tomorrow. It will be on Tifo Football. I am working with them to create. I'm working with them to create a program for streamers that love doing watch alongs, and so you guys can join me there by clicking the link that I have in the pinned comment. All you have to do is just use your email to like sign up. It's free. You can use the code Jessica to RSVP to the event. So make sure you guys do that, right? So, and I'll say it again a couple more times. Also, I also put a post up on the channel so that you guys can like, if you guys don't see the post, you can't do it right now. You can do it later, and then before the game, an hour before the game, I'll do another stream, and then I'll just drag all you guys across to the watch along. So, no worries, we will get it done. But I don't know what's going on here. What's going on here? What's going on here? Okay, so but I'm excited. I'm feeling a little bit better about the game tomorrow. Obviously, I'm still nervous, but it is what it is. Martin L says, sorry, Jess, I may be the only one who doesn't know your story of how you became an Arsenal fan. I would like to hear it. I will do that in just a second because people do ask me a lot. But I feel like it is kind of a good story, right? Hugo says, big up, Jess. Hope you're well. Bayern lose to Dortmund for the first time in the league since 2018. It's done. Like it's that league is done. You know, like when Bayern have been out of it for a long time, so I genuinely won't pay that much attention to what they're doing in the league because it's done. You know what I mean? I would assume the team that we're going to play against in the Champions League is going to be more motivated than the one that's, in their league or whatever, but yeah, they don't look the best, but it is what it is, So for Martin, who asked about my story, I'll do like the Cliff Notes version really quick. I grew up playing and I also loved watching. And so my mom would try to help me find games. And in America at that time, like there wasn't a lot to watch. Like you didn't have Peacock and NBC and all these places to watch the Premier League. Like there was literally nowhere. And so we did find a channel that would play Premier League games every once in a while, but it was only like the good teams. And so the first game that we ever watched was like a Man United game. And I was like, cool, this team is great. Like, cool, like Roy Keane and Andy Cole and all this kind of stuff. Then the next weekend, my mom was like, you have to come in here. You have to watch this team. It's called Arsenal. And there's this player called Thierry Henry. And he's amazing. Come in here and watch. And so as soon as I saw Arsenal, I was like, that's my team. That's it. That's it. I'm done, And then so ever since then, I've been a fan, flying all the way across the pond to watch Arsenal play and stuff like that. So yeah, I absolutely love the team and have loved them since the moment that I saw them. It was love at first sight for sure. Like Nico says, smash the like button and subscribe to the channel. And make sure you guys click on the link in the pinned comment so that you guys can sign up for the watch along. It's on a new program called Tifo that I'm, helping them figure out a way to create the best possible platform for streamers and content creators that like to do watch alongs. And so I'd love for you guys to support me in this and, sign up. It's totally free. It's just like the way to get onto it. And then you put in the access code Jessica and then you can RSVP. And then we're going to have loads of fun tomorrow because Arsenal are going to get a result at the Ethiad. Kamal says, Jess, you can beat this Bayern team just like Dortmund did today. Honestly, like, I can't even look past, the Manchester City right now. Watching Bayern was kind of like, oh yeah, like they have this weakness, But right now I'm kind of more focused on like what are Manchester City's weaknesses? Like, do they have any? I know that they have some players potentially out. And so it's a good opportunity for Arsenal in good form, playing well, to change the narrative around this team and what we can accomplish, if that makes sense. So I'm more focused on that than the Champions League. But yeah, Bayern don't look great, but their league form really is not really saying much to me right now, like I said before. So yeah, there's 80 of you guys in here. Make sure you guys like and subscribe. Dan says that Interlull was arduous. I'm so glad Barclays is back. The first game, West Ham versus Newcastle, was absolute insanity. It was insanity. And I was like, yesterday I was like, okay, what games do I want to watch? What I want to tune into? And I was like, this is one that I probably want to watch. I'm so glad I got up and watched it. I'm so glad I got up and watched it. It was so hilarious. Like, everything about it. It had a red card, it had penalties, it had, a team going 3-1 up and then it going 3-3 and then losing 4-3. And it's just West Ham to be doing all this olays and, David Moyes to feel confident taking his players off and stuff like that just to lose. It was amazing. Kudus tried to do his celebration and wanted to take the stool away from a child, like the ball boy that was like on the pitch. It was like crazy. It was so funny. Like, it really was. But there were some sensational goals in that game. The uh, the Kudus goal, that was fantastic. The ball that Isak put in for Harvey Barnes' winner was great. And so one thing about Newcastle and West Ham is they love, chaos. And when the chaos is fully on, like, they can create some of the best goals you can see in the Prem. They have fantastic players. They just aren't as good as us. That's just basically all it is. So, yeah, that was a really, really good game. And, things changed very quickly. It was like a very quick switch before people were like, oh, Eddie Howe is under so much pressure to Moyes is a bum. Like, it was so quick. But there's so many quality players on both teams. Isak, Bruno Guimaraes, Harvey Barnes that came in, Livramento is great. They have some good players, and then West Ham obviously have Paquetá, Kudus, and Bowen. Paquetá is just not going to be there very long, is he? Like, Paquetá is 100% going to end up at Man City, isn't he? I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if, you know, you know, Pep goes out there and tries to get both Bruno Guimaraes and Paquetá because they would be fantastic in that Man City midfield. So, yeah, West Ham are not gonna be able to, keep on to these players. And, what was I gonna say? Like Neil is saying, West Ham invited it onto themselves. Like, they definitely did. Like, once they went up, they got rid of their outlet in Antonio and started playing, I think it was Paquetá up front, and then they just went into, like, a very negative shape and allowed, like, Newcastle to come onto them. And when you're at St. James, they could get on top of you very quickly. And so, um, fuck around, you'll find out. That's basically what it was. So very, very interesting. Nico says, would you still get Isak Jess considering his injuries? I don't know. I'm very not into the injury prone player thing. But what I will say is that, like, if he didn't have the injuries, he'd be my number one choice just because, like, he just reeks of Arsenal and he would solve a lot of problems, and outlets and channel runners and, players like that are really useful in this league. And so, yeah, but the injuries are just so prevalent that I'm just not sure that I would take the risk, especially because, Newcastle would one arm and a leg. So what do you do with that? Um, so that's probably not a good answer, but at the moment I would say no. but I would not be surprised if Arsenal went after him because prem proven, right age, probably will be available because Newcastle are going to finish mid-table. I cannot see them getting into the European places unless something really changes because their injuries are ridiculous. So he should be somebody that they could look to sell. I've seen that they're interested in Sesko. So it could be the case that they sell Isak and then buy Sesko. So yeah, it's a risk. It's a risk like Neil is saying, but I would say right now no, because it's just a lot. Um DAJ says Kudus would have been great cover for Saka, Odegaard, and Martinelli. It's interesting that we didn't actually go after Kudus the way that I feel like maybe we should have. Like, he's somebody that I would have wanted. I wasn't that upset about it when it didn't happen, but then watching him play, I was like, did we make a mistake here? Because he's obviously super talented. He could do the Saka stuff. He could play in midfield. He could do a lot of things. And he's just really, really dangerous. He can hold on to the ball. I wonder what it was about him that made Arsenal say no. There's certain players that we have been linked to where it was like, damn, sorry, my NWSL team is playing and one of our players just got absolutely ripped. But yeah, like, I just wonder what it was about Kudus that Arsenal were like, "No, we're not gonna go for him." Like, we made a lot of big decisions this last summer, to go after Kai Havertz, not to get like a true striker, a true midfielder, spend 100 million on Declan Rice. Those are huge decisions. And so I just wonder what the thought process was about like not going and get a Kudus, not going, you know what I mean? Because he's a really good player. I also want to know what happened with Bruno Guimaraes and Paquetá. Those are players that we were also linked to that like literally those three players could be Arsenal players right now. So I do wonder, but he would have been good cover, but there's a reason why we didn't go after him, and I just wonder what that was. There's always a reason why. Neil says Kudus is good, but kind of glad we did it. I'd like to know why. I'd like to know why you think it's good that we didn't get him. Because is there anybody out there now that could do those things that you feel like we'll go out there and get? Like people have, said like Javi Simmons. Javi Simmons is somebody that can cover all those same spots and is tricky and fun to watch. So, why are you glad that we didn't do it? Lionide says Isak spent most of last year in Sociedad injured. Fair enough. Mikey says Bruno and Lucas are firm besties. They are best friends. They played at Lyon together. I love them at Lyon. I really thought we probably should have went out and got at least one of them. You guys know if you have been long time channel, watchers, that I was devastated we didn't get Bruno Guimaraes when we had the chance. And I don't feel as strongly about it now, but yeah, it's still kind of like, well, what would we have looked like with because I think our midfield would work with either one of them in it, you know. But there's nothing you can do about it now. you know. Damien says Kudus is good, but not wow. Likewise, uh Tony, just not Arsenal levels. Fair enough. Neil says a lot of Kudus work is on transition. Don't think he suits my opinion. That's interesting too. Like, would players like, Paquetá, Kudus, like these guys, would they work in a team that's like fully built on like on possession when we're not a transition team. We're really not like we can play that way, but for the most part, we have like the ball all the time. And West Ham are just not like that. So would they work in our system? That's a really, really good point. I actually think as much as this would hurt me, the team that probably should have gone for Kudus and probably should still go after Kudus is probably Man United because I don't think they'll ever get to a point where they play a possession-based football. I think they'll always kind of play some sort of like transitional, star kind of team ball, and Kudus would fit in perfectly with what they do. DJ Polar says Leon was the reason why we didn't get them. Fair enough. John Donut says, hi, Jess. Hello to you as well. Chris says, that's not true. Isak missed roughly 5 games for Sociedad. Mikey says, Lucas would sparkle under Arteta. DJ Polar says, Bruno G for Jorginho replacement if possible. Hugo says, Sophia Smith plays football today. Thorns. She sure does. Damien says, if we can get Isak to stay injury free, then we have a player on our hands. But it's like, what would that take? I think Arsenal, like the medical team, they would know better of like what they can do in terms of injuries with a player. I would just say like it's very rare. Very rare, and I know somebody will be like, Gundogan. It's very rare that a player that has a lot of injuries just goes injury like it just flips like that. Very, very rare. So, I'm not sure I would bet on it, but if he could stay injury free, he'd be fantastic. Shamraya says, need Paquetá as a big midfield signing this summer. I just feel like he's gonna go to Man City. I just can't see any other pathway for him because he was gonna go this past summer, so I can see them going back for him now that the betting nonsense is over, right? Um, Also, Chelsea drew to a 10-man Burnley, which was hilarious, I'm not gonna lie. They're just not very good, are they? They're just not very good, are they? I mean, they have really taken the place for me of like, after a game watching Goldbridge or, the rest of United stand because now they're started winning games. But Chelsea not winning games. I'm watching Matisse and all you know, um, their other content creators, and it's just freaking hilarious because every time they win a game, they're yapping, but they just barely scrape to 40 points now. And they sit 11th still. They cannot get away from the 11th spot. Um, and they haven't lost in their last 5, but they drew 3 of those games. So they're just not very good. And I know that, they're in a final or they got into a final, they're in a semifinal, whatever, but I don't really care. They're not very good. They play Man United next. That's a massive game. They play them on April 4th, and then obviously we have to play them on the 23rd. Yeah, they play Man City in the FA Cup semifinal. Um, they have some toughish games coming up. They have to play Villa, they have to play West Ham, so it's not looking good for them, to be honest. But it's just great to see them not playing well. I don't know. It's nice. It's nice. Hugo says Rand said Palmer over Saka. Listen, everybody's gonna say that. That's not, you know, like they all band together and back somebody that's not an Arsenal player. That's just what it is. Freaking Palmer is a very good player, but you know, I still wouldn't trade Saka for him any day, so it's whatever. I expect rants and whoever else, expressions, everybody that's not an Arsenal fan to say Palmer is better because he moves them and he just does all this and Saka just doesn't move them and he doesn't do enough step overs. And I don't care. I'll take Saka all day long. It is what it is. They have Cole Palmer. We have Saka. Like we're not starving out here. Nuances of Fate says, I want João Neves. Pelza says, I wouldn't be surprised if we made a surprise signing, to be honest. That would be fun as long as it's somebody that we like, right? Hugo says, my boy Wissa about to turn Maguire inside out. Listen, Brentford, if you can do me a favor, stop. You know what pissed me off about Brentford? More than anything is I've watched them every week. Every week I watch Brentford play, and they have played horrendously against very bad teams for a while. I didn't expect them to beat City. I didn't expect them to beat Tottenham. I didn't expect them to win any of the big games, but I expected them against other teams in and around them to be able to stand up and do something. And they didn't. But they tried to have their game of the season, their moment of the season against us at the Emirates. That was the best they played in weeks. And I'm like, how dare you? How dare you stand up now? And you still lost, so they can do one really. But if they can, get a little point here against Man United, I wouldn't be, Tony, he's having a little tryout because apparently Man United want Tony. So you got a little tryout going on. Make it shake. Make it shake. Do something. But Wissa's really like their main man, isn't he? I mean, he's always the one that's causing problems. Chris Fraser says, real talk though, where would Chelsea be without Palmer? Nowhere. Really, he's carrying them for sure. Blaze says Matisse spends a lot of time hating Arsenal and Havertz, but his team can't even finish top 10. It's crazy. Like, it's, you know what it is? It's like, if you hate Havertz so much, you should be happy that he left. But I think the problem is that he left and he's doing well at a team that they hate. So it's like they're in denial. It's like, it's just because players don't do well at your club doesn't mean they're not good. You guys ruin good players all the time. Last 5, 6 years, they have been ruining good players. So that does not mean, that they're not good, and Havertz is showing that. I think other players have shown that, going to different leagues and different teams and doing well. So you guys are not the end all be all. Look how bad they make certain, like Sterling looks bad for them. Like let's be serious, So um I think it's just tough watching a player that you deem to be the reason why you're not doing well, do well somewhere else. And they're just really, really in denial. And it's like, yeah, they just weren't like, he's just, you guys just aren't very good, Ali says, just score predictions for both games. We're going to get into that in just a second. Damian Kelly says, Jess, can you name your starting team for tomorrow? We're getting into it, guys. I saw something else. Lionide says Matisse is in a dark place. Hopefully he is. And Justa J says Chelsea gives me so much enjoyment in these games. So yeah, but let's go ahead and get into it. Make sure the 120 of you guys that are in here are liking the video, subscribing to the channel. I have to go in the rain to work today, so make me a happy girl and like and subscribe, and get into the chat because yeah, it's cold and raining and I kind of want to just stay here and talk to you guys, but I got to go to work. So there you go. Listen, we have the biggest game of the season tomorrow. And we also, well, Arsenal women also have a massive game tomorrow, but we have a massive game against City. Last couple of times that we went there, we lost 3-0, we lost 1-0, we lost 5-0, we lost 4-1. So it hasn't been good. It hasn't been good. But we are in good form. And a couple of things that I want to see from the team is I want to see us be controlled, but not too controlled where we're afraid to attack. I feel like we tend against Man City, we do look a little bit, we look quite blunt and devoid of any sort of quality in the final third. It's been very hard, for us to score goals against them, and I know that a lot of teams don't score against them, but this season they haven't been that great defensively. They're not getting a lot of clean sheets the way that they usually do. And so I do expect us to create good quality chances. And I don't mean 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 chances. I mean, if it's 3 or 4 good chances, I expect that. I expect that. I don't want to see us getting into the final third and making bad crosses. I don't want to see us getting into the final third scuffing shots. I don't want to see us getting into the final third and not making right decisions. I really want us to be calm and composed, but also aggressive and intense, because I just think this game requires it. And yes, City have been better than us, but we're going into this as a team in really, really good form. And so I want to see that continue. I want us to really go at their back line. If they have a weakened back line, which isn't as weak as our back lines have been in the past, but a weakened back line, maybe without Kyle Walker and Stones, is an area for us to take advantage of. And that's where I feel like Kai Havertz is going to come in very handy because he causes chaos. And I know it's like, we don't need chaos, we need goals, but we definitely need a presence up front to make it difficult for them. In the Community Shield, I felt like he did a good job in that by holding the ball up and, hitting it off to Martinelli or Saka and holding it up and causing problems. He did a good job at that against Liverpool as well. And so I expect to see that again, and I expect to see him start. I feel like I'd be very surprised if the front line was not Saka and Kai Havertz and Martinelli. But if Martinelli is not fit, maybe Jesus starts on the left. Um, you guys know I love Trossard, and I love him to absolute death, but I do feel as though, like, if Martinelli can't go, it might just need to be Jesus off of the left. I just do, because we need somebody that can help unlock things. We need somebody that can maybe operate in stressful situations where there's not a lot of people around him, and, like, Jesus at least can hold it up, you know, he can get past his defender, he's good 1v1, where I feel like Trossard really needs to be, like, in the box to make it happen, and so if we're in a situation where we're kinda under the gun and we need to be able to kick it up to somebody to hold it up, I do feel like Jesus would be a better option if he's fit, but Martinelli would obviously be the best option, and I'm hoping that he is fit and ready to go. Now, I'd also be really surprised if the midfield changed too. Like, I feel like there is gonna be a surprise, but I'm hoping that we go with the same midfield of Jorginho, Rice, and Odegaard, because I feel like there's no reason to change it. I feel like Jorginho has played in many big games. I know that people are afraid of his lack of mobility, but I don't necessarily feel like they're gonna be running beyond us anyway. Like, I know KDB tends to he's really athletic, he can do it, but it's not like playing up against, like, I don't know. I'll think of an example, but I I do think that, like, we need to go with that balanced midfield. I'd be very surprised if Arteta did something like Kai in midfield and Jesus up front. I just don't know if that's the right thing to do, because then I'm trying to figure out also, like, with Kivior in the back, how are we progressing the ball? Because that was one of our problems in the past with that group, is, like, when we played against Fulham, when it was Kivior and Havertz was in midfield, it was really kind of, like, difficult. Like, I know we've started to make Ben White invert, but I just feel like there's not enough progression in there. So I am hoping that we go with the balanced midfield and we kinda go with the group that we've had, but my gut is telling me that something is gonna be different. Something is going to be different. Um, because why wouldn't it be? Because it's a massive game, and why wouldn't there be a shock? Backline has got to be the same backline that's been rocking over the last 8 games or so. It's gotta be White, it's gotta be Saliba, Gabriel. Please, Gabriel, be fit. And Kivior, I just don't feel like throwing Tommy in there without any reps is a good idea. Kivior deserves to start. The group has been strong. Raya in goal. There's nothing to change. But I'm interested to see what you guys think, because there's people seem to want to throw players that haven't played in a long time into the biggest game of the season. And I'm just wondering, like, how many times have we seen Partey come into a game when he's not fully fit and just completely drop the ball? Or, Tommy came into a game against City at home last season and hadn't played for a while, and he made a massive mistake for the first game, or for the first goal. So I'm wondering where this idea of throwing people in that haven't played at all recently is coming from. Is it just, people need game time, and, like, just a 60 minutes against QPR or whoever the frick it was in, a closed door friendly is not enough, So, Hugo says, wouldn't be surprised to see Havertz left center mid and Jesus up front. If there's any change that, like, that's not injury enforced, I feel like it would be that. But I'm also wondering if that would be the best, would that be the best for us? Havertz, Rice, Odegaard, Jesus up front. I don't know. I haven't seen it in a while, so yeah. Drago says, Kivior has been on a mad form. You don't change a winning team on mad form bar injury. Um, Hugo says KDB not been so athletic this year. Kovacic, Rodri won't be running all game, and that's why I'm not that afraid about, like, Jorginho being in midfield. Rice is there to cover. We have an athletic, running back line too. So I'm not too worried about that, But I know some people are still like, Jorginho doesn't have the legs, and I'm like, I get it, but you know, like, he played against Liverpool's midfield and he was fine, like, Shamariah says, "I don't think we'll see Havertz left center mid because Arteta typically turns to December, to deck as an 8 in big games." Um, and that's my thought process too, is Also, you wanna think about players that have been in massive games before, the temperament of the team, making sure that people are super on it, and Jorginho tends to have that, calming presence, and we're gonna need that in a game away from home at the Etihad where everything is, like, on the line. So you have Jorginho's experience in there with Rice and Odegaard, Kai up front as the outlet and a bully, and then hopefully you have Martinelli, and if Martinelli's not there, I think you have to play Jesus out wide, and then hopefully Saka's ready to go, but it also kind of is a little bit disappointing to know that whatever wingers we have are gonna be coming off of some level of injury or timeout. Saka coming off of a little injury, Martinelli and Jesus, and so I'm just hoping they're really ready to go because our wide men are so important, and I'm afraid that they're gonna be a little off it, but hopefully they're okay. Hugo says, "I would stick with the last 11 also." Shemariah says, "I really want us to start strong and fast like we did at Anfield." Same, same. I think we have to go in not scared. I feel like there is, like, an element of fear when we go to the Etihad, and last season, it definitely showed. It was really palpable that it was, like, weird. It was like we didn't believe in what we were doing, but we went and did it, and we did it poorly. Remember we started, like, pressing really quickly, and it was, like, very strange what we were doing. Um, and I was just like as soon as they bypassed the press, they were, like, free, almost in on goal, and so we have to be committed to what we're doing, and if we're gonna press, we have to press for real. If we're gonna sit back, we have to sit back in numbers and sit in our shape confidently, like, whatever we're doing, we have to do it with conviction. I feel like we go to the Etihad sometimes and we really flatter to deceive, so, and there's no reason to be like that. It has to this has to become like not like any other game, but there can't always be this, it's City," like, it needs to kind of and I get that we have so many ties to them. We have 2 of their ex-players in our team. We have their ex-assistant coach, so there's all of these, like, narratives, but at some stage, this kinda just has to be, "We're playing City," you know? Um, so yeah, Shamariah says, "Party would lose his head if he starts. He ain't ready to start in a high-stake game like this." I agree with you. There's not a lot of backing in Partey being this big game player, and a lot of it is not so much like his quality on the ball, it's what's going on up here. I feel like he does tend to get rattled and make mistakes, and so really have to be careful here. I know that we want our best 11 to be out there, but sometimes your best 11 is the best players that are right for the mentality of the game and not always just, like, on paper. Um, I'd be very shocked if Partey came in for this game. Um, but, you'll never like, never say never. Aman says, "I think we'll see Partey start tomorrow." Justin J says, "We're winning 3-0. City are getting packed. Start Jesus left wing and put Rice and Jorginho, Partey in a traditional pivot." Um, like, I wouldn't mind seeing Jesus left wing if Martinelli's not ready to go. Antoine says, "Come on, Manchester City boys." What a hater. Drago says, "There should be no fear. There's no reason why we're first place and they're in third." Oof. Um, sorry, my team is getting roasted. Akin says, "This game gives me the heebie-jeebies." Yeah, it does because in the past, it just hasn't been great, has it? It's been really, really poor. But at some stage, this needs to become a game. Like, we have to be able to play a competitive match at the Etihad. I feel like none of our matches have ever been that competitive there, not in recent times, and so at the very minimum, that's what I require is a competitive match where we're not getting slapped around, but I also expect us to get something. Whether that's a win or a draw, I expect us to leave there with something. And I know some people have been saying online that Arsenal have to win it. And I get where that's coming from. It's like, well, you're in the title race, so you have to win every single game. But I also don't think if we draw that we're out of the title race. And I don't really want to go into it feeling like if we don't get 3 points in this game, it's over, right? Because there's so many more games to go, but this is a massive game, and I do think that the formula that usually works is beating your title rivals at home and not losing away keeps you within striking distance, and we've done really well to beat City and Liverpool at home. We did well to draw at Anfield. Now we have to beat or not beat. Well, I would love to beat, but we have to get something at the Etihad. I don't think we can lose. Aman says, if Jorginho starts, hopefully we use the same approach we used versus Liverpool at the Emirates. When we are pressing, Jorginho goes into the 8 while Declan stays at the 6. And they play that so well. They tend to know what triggers it is. They're really well, like, they work so well to go together, Declan and Jorginho. They tend to know when to go and when to stay, and I know exactly what you're talking about, and I think we tried it at home in the cup too, and we kinda saw it, and it wasn't, like, perfected, and then by the time we got to the home game in the league, it was like we had it, and so that's what I think we should do, but, if we do Havertz, I don't know if that's what I would do, especially because he's playing so well up front. I feel like he does kinda just need to stay there and just, like, marinate in that position for a while. Um, it says, "I would use Martinelli as a super sub if he's fit." That's a good point too. You could use, let's say Jesus is, like, maybe not fully fit. Tell him, "Go hard for 60 minutes, and then we're gonna drop Martinelli in there on tired legs." That could be a good way to do it, or start Trossard and then, bring Martinelli on. Whatever's the best, way to go. Lionite says, Sunday will be a chess game mid-block with slow build-up waiting for the error to occur. I hate those. And that's usually what it is too. It's just like, who's gonna make the first mistake? Oh my goodness. I'm so nervous. Natalie says, Hugo, true start last 11 players. You guys talking to each other. Blaze says, it's because we already lost the league against Southampton and West Ham before going to the Etihad last season. This season will be different. It has to be. It has to be. Like, there's just no reason to go there and get played off the park. There's just no reason. Damien says, I don't want Jorginho in the number 6, though. Play him in the left 8 and Rice at the 6. I don't know. To me, I don't actually think that. I feel like we get too bogged down in who's in the 6 and who's in the 8. When they play together, they're in a pivot, and sometimes Jorginho is in the 6 and when Rice presses high, and then sometimes Jorginho presses and Rice stays back. So I don't really think it matters. I just feel like they know who goes and who stays, and it's never really, like, set in stone when they play together. Sometimes Rice is deeper, sometimes Jorginho is the 6, so, I kinda get what you're saying, but the way that they play it, it's very fluid, you know? It's not rigid at all, so it's not like if Havertz was in there, Havertz is definitely in the 8, so, I don't think we have to worry about that. Also, the other thing I don't really love about when Havertz plays in midfield is not that it doesn't work, because 'cause we've won plenty of games with Havertz at left center mid. It requires Odegaard to drop deeper, and I know a lot of people have said, like, once he dropped deeper, he got better, but I still feel like we lose a little bit of something when Odegaard drops really deep, like, into the double pivot, collecting the ball off of Raya all the time, and it makes us more predictable. And so I do feel as though, like, we do need to go with Jorginho just for that reason as well, because Odegaard has got to be present and, like, very much so, like, at the heart of what we do, or we're not winning. I just don't see how we win without him being one of the best players on the pitch. I just can't see it, you know? Kenna says, if Trossard starts, I really think Martinelli, Jesus, and Partey really give us a great options off the bench and will make a difference. Yeah, and it's been a while since we've had a good bench, and the bench helped us win, against City at home. So we know how important the bench can be. It's not always about who starts too, so I don't think it's that big of a deal if Jorginho starts and Partey plays a substitution role. It's not that deep. Lucas says we need to make it boring. Could get ugly if they score in the first 10 minutes. Here's what I'll say about that though, too. Like, I just don't want it to be the typical thing where they score early and then we collapse. Them scoring does not mean we have to lose the game, and we don't tend to go down very often, but I'm trying to think of all the games that we've dropped points in. We lost to Fulham. When we lost to Fulham, we actually scored first. Um, Funny enough, but uh we didn't score at all against Newcastle. We didn't score at all against Aston Villa. So they scored and we just never could score, but that was, like, kind of before we unlocked the attack anyway. When we dropped points against Fulham earlier on in the season, they scored first. So we don't tend to go down, but I don't know if we have the get up and fight back. I don't know, so, um, I would love to think that even if they score first, we're still gonna fight back and get something. It cannot just be they score and that's it. We should not have to keep a clean sheet. Like, obviously, you want a clean sheet, but I just don't feel like that should be like the thing. Clean sheet or nothing. Like, that cannot be it. We have to be able to persevere even if they score. Kenneth says, if Trossard starts, oh yeah, I already read that one. Aman says the only big team City have beaten is United. Chelsea and Liverpool at the Etihad gave City troubles. We should be able to create chances. And I agree. I think we should be able to create good, solid chances. I really don't want to end the game feeling as though we didn't lay a glove. And I felt like we've done that so often against them. And so I expect us to hit them in the jaw a couple of times. Like, I expect them to you know, also like create chances against us. But, like, I don't expect us to just go with nothing, and just like when we're doing the post match being like, yeah, but what chances do we have? Like, it cannot be that. It genuinely cannot be that. Lucas, as my point is more about City. They are better starters than finishers. Nicholas J says, correct analysis, Jess. Martinelli has to play before Trossard. Damian Kelly says, Jess, City is wary. Let's be brave. It's our time now. I really want to see like a brave, confident performance. Like, I want to see, even if we concede, that we're going to come straight back, you know? Um, I want to see, like, I don't want to see us crumble at the Etihad. There's no reason to. We're good, you know? And like you guys said, like, Man United, they lost at the Etihad, but they had loads of chances. Not loads, but they had enough where they probably look back and they're like, we really should have put that away. Chelsea gave them nightmares. Tottenham always give them nightmares. Liverpool gave them nightmares, like you guys all said. So there is no reason for us to go there. I think the only reason why it's a lot more tight when we play against them is because our styles are so similar that I feel like sometimes they cancel each other out. Um, and then, like somebody was saying earlier, it's waiting for the mistake. Where when they're playing up against, Man United, when they're playing up against, Liverpool, they're playing up against teams that tend to want to counter more. And so both of us are like, kind of like, we want the possession, we want the possession, we want the possession. And so it's not gonna be a basketball game. Like, it's definitely gonna be like more tight. I expect it to be a little bit like the Community Shield, if I'm honest. Which was a game where, we conceded first and it didn't come until like late in the game and we still came back. So that's what I expect. But damn, the games are always like very tight. Especially like recently. Shamariah says, we're getting our licks back for that time they won last minute at the Emirates Watch. Oh my gosh, that game was so heartbreaking. It was like on the day after Christmas or something like that. Um, yeah, that was the game that I feel like a lot of us realized that we were going in the right direction too. Where Arteta was, would he get COVID, or something like that? So, and he wasn't on the sideline. So, yeah, I remember that game like it was yesterday. Damien says, City tried to knock you out in the first 10 minutes. Once you settle the game, then they are under pressure. Arsenal winning 3-0. I don't know about 3-0, but we should be getting something out of this game. I'll say that for sure. Chris says Liverpool were hammered at the Etihad. Were they hammered? What was the score? Because sometimes y'all be lying. Let's see. Well, that's the women. Oh my gosh. Okay. It was 1-1. So let me know if, well, no, that was when Liverpool were at home. Okay, so when Liverpool went to the Etihad, it was 1-1. Both games ended 1-1. City had 16 shots. Liverpool had 8. City had 5 on target, Liverpool had 3. City had more possession. I'm trying to see where yeah, there's not really so them getting hammered, probably not, but maybe City were the better team, but yeah. Um, yeah, they were both 1-1. Antoine says Chris means dominated. Mm, maybe they didn't deserve to get out of there, but I don't know. Hammered feels like you know, a tough word. Either way, can we not all say that there's been times that teams have went to the Etihad and had good spells against City this season? I think we can say that, even if we don't pick out specific things, So, I still feel like we should do well. Sammy says Saka better do to Gvardiol what Messi did to him in the World Cup. Is it going to be Gvardiol or is Pep going to be smart and put Ake on him? I feel like Saka does tend to struggle up against the Ake types, and so can they? Do they have if I'm Pep, I guess I'll play Ake on Saka, and then I'd play Diaz and Akanji as the center backs. So, and Ake tends to get the better of Saka, and I think Saka needs to figure out how he's going to get beyond him. And then probably what Pep will also do is make sure Doku's there to keep Ben White from overlapping as much, isolating Saka even more. So, yeah, it's going to be a very, very tough day for Saka if he's not on it, because he just the taller, kind of like faster. And I know Ake is not like super tall, but you get what I mean. He's like 5'11", taller, good 1v1 defender, athletic. Saka's not the best against, so, especially if he doesn't have help. So, yeah, maybe if Akanji does play at right back, like Aman is saying, because they're so stretched defensively, Gvardiol on that side does help. But yeah, it's their main focus is gonna be make sure that they stop Saka, and then whatever else is gonna happen is, like they'll do what they have to do on the other side. Shamraya says, Saka's got a point to prove. They have been cooking him in this international break. Of course, he's always going to have to prove himself, which is unfortunate. Nobody else has to prove themselves, but he does every single day. But, to be the best, you have to consistently be performing. And so if Saka does play tomorrow, I expect him to, to do the business. So you guys, I just want to remind you that, there's 100 of you guys in here. You guys always ask about watch alongs, and I am doing one tomorrow. The link pinned in the comments, and I'll also put another one in here, is how you guys are going to watch the watch along that I'm doing tomorrow. It's on a new platform that I have the opportunity to work with called Tifo Football, and they're creating a network that not really a network, but a platform that's specifically for player or people that do watch alongs. And so all you have to do is click the link. You'll have to just set up your email address and then put in the access code to my watch along call. And it's just Jessica. That's all you have to put in is Jessica. And then you can just, click that you're attending the event, and we will be on our way tomorrow. And I'll also do a stream before the game tomorrow, and so I'll pull you guys across from there too. So yeah, and I'm looking forward to watching the game with you guys tomorrow for sure. You guys are saying Tony off the post. Let me know if Tony actually scores, But you guys, I just want to do a short little stream because we're also going to talk tomorrow, and I do have to go ahead and get out of here. But make sure you guys click that link and get all set up for tomorrow to make sure that, we're all there for the watch along tomorrow. And also remember that player ratings is going to be a little bit longer after, just because I'm going to do a stream on Bleacher Report's platform first and then come over here. So you guys will see me. It'll just be a little bit later. All right, guys, like, subscribe, click that link, set up everything so that you guys could be a part of the watch along. And I will see you guys tomorrow. Bye, guys.